Hello, everybody. On a somber Easter Monday, we are back here with 5 things that you may have missed from the Leeds game yesterday. We're going to try and bring you guys up and bring myself up with the conversation, not to make it just purely downbeat, and we're going to try and get into things which are going to lift your spirits a little bit, but also things where Leeds definitely need to be criticised after yesterday's game. These are things that I've picked up on, and these are things that maybe you guys have missed after watching Leeds United 1, Crystal Palace 5. Let's get into it. So, guys, after watching the full game, I would actually like to apologise for my video yesterday when I was discussing Brendan Aronson. I was completely wrong. I don't think he had a good second half, but there's absolutely no way I should have called him out as on the same level as Jack Harrison and Luke Ayling yesterday. I thought Brendan was actually very good in that first half. I think obviously you come out the ground, you're very emotional, and you're taking bites from what you've said before. But actually in that first half, I thought he was playing up to his position very, very well, and it was probably one of his better halves. I disagree with myself yesterday because essentially he got an assist. It was a good ball in. I think what I was referring to was there was a couple of balls in where it bounced before it even reached the first man, and it was very, very frustrating. However, overall, I thought Aronson was involved a lot more. I thought his touches were really nice. I thought he was getting rid of the ball quicker as well. I thought he was decent on the left side. He was decent on the right side. His little combinations, his triangles as well. So I think that's one thing we've got to take from this. In the past couple of games, we've seen positives from Weston McKennie. We've seen positives from Mark Rocker. We've seen Robin Koch yesterday in that first half play very, very well, and Brendan Aronson as well. So going into the latter run of the Premier League calendar, I understand that we got mauled yesterday. I understand that it wasn't a good result, but at least we're seeing some of our players who have maybe been out of form in a fair few games getting into form. And I know with Mark Rocker and Weston McKennie that turned yesterday, but I thought in the first half at least they were showing elements of progression when it came to their form. So maybe the thing that you missed was, and you may not have missed this, but I thought Brendan Aronson actually in the first half played well, and that's a good sign going forward. Number 2, guys, which is what I'm sure a lot of you grasped from yesterday, was, capitulation has been used, meltdown has been used, breakdown has obviously been used. I think the worrying thing for me was that mentality switch, and I'm hoping it's a one-off. I really am, and I do think you get these in a Premier League season. You get teams all the time getting wallops. It happens to the best teams, but I think the worrying thing yesterday was it was 12th versus 13th. Crystal Palace aren't world beaters, but Roy's doing a fantastic job. You do have to say that. They had 32 shots against Leicester City, so he's turning them around, and I did think he'd do that. I mentioned that a couple of times, but yeah, it's a fair play to him. But I think the worrying thing from my perspective has been the mentality switch, or was the mentality switch from Leeds United in that second half to concede 4, to be played with, to not get near to Crystal Palace. And for Crystal Palace really to have won the game by even more goals, I thought was slightly worrying. And when I say slightly worrying, it was massively worrying. And I honestly don't think it's a case of, we're missing Verber, we're missing Adams and all this sort of stuff, because I personally believe that would have happened anyway. I really do. I think it was just one of those games for Leeds where we weren't able to win our individual battles. I thought Eze and Elise in that second half were instructed to beat Leeds players. I know that sounds really, really simple, but I mentioned it on the review yesterday. Get the ball, beat your man. And Ayew was involved in that as well, who does have very good close control. So I just thought they were told to be a little bit more, experimental on the ball, because Palace do have technically very, very good players when it comes to 1v1s. So yeah, I think it was always going to be a difficult second half for Leeds United. But yeah, we're going to get onto it in point 3. But I'll tell you what, we'll mix it. I think. Yeah, we'll mix this with point 2. I do think where we do miss Tyler Adams and Max Verber would have been maybe the leadership on the pitch. 2 young men still, 23 and 24, but I still think the leadership on the pitch, they were so quiet, Leeds, and when you were at the ground, it was palpable. No one was speaking to each other. Heads were down at 1-1, never mind 5-1. So yeah, that I guess that fluxes into the mentality, doesn't it? So yeah, the capitulation, the mentality, all of that encompassed into a battering, really, and that was my worry for point number 2. Really, it was that breakdown in mentality. Another thing you may have missed, everybody, was the Sinistera substitution, which was an interesting one for me. I think Bringing him off was the wrong shout. I know there's a lot of people who were saying he was having a poor game. I think Leeds weren't utilising him a lot. I think he got to the back end of the first half and the start of the first half, we were really seeing battles versus him and Joel Ward, who was definitely their weak point in my opinion when it comes to pace and when it comes to being able to deal with a winger of the calibre of Sinisterra. I thought the change was wrong, and I thought maybe you saw a little bit of, critique being laid at Gracia's door yesterday when it came to his substitutions, and I would agree with that. The timing, young players been brought on very, very late. But how's that going to aid their development? Was that the right choice? But Sinisterra coming off and Jack Harrison not coming off was the wrong choice for me. I think Jack needed to come off, and I think you naturally switch up the dynamics for bringing on a player like Nonto, who's a completely different player to Jack Harrison when it comes to characteristics. You bring him on for Jack Harrison, it gives the left back Mitchell a completely different dynamic to deal with, a completely different profile of player to deal with, and then you've got two very, very, very similar profiles on either side, but very difficult to deal with. I think Jack Harrison was very predictable all day. His head was down, getting the ball, passing it back. Mitchell had the beating of him, really, in my opinion, from moment 5-6 in the game when there was a 1v1 battle on the wing and Mitchell blocked it. Then he won the ball off Jack Harrison a couple of minutes later and Jack's head went down. We see this all the time with Jack Harrison. If he doesn't beat his man, then he goes lateral, goes back, and he doesn't really... I feel sometimes with Jack that he doesn't want the ball then if he knows his man's got him, basically. And I've seen that multiple times with Harrison. So it's switching up the dynamics on that side where you have a braver... more explosive winger would have been a lot better for Leeds, and I think that's maybe where Gracia are wrong. So that's maybe one thing you guys missed as well. Number 4, everybody, is something we've touched on so many times, but is Cody Drama worse than Luke Ayling and Rasmus Christensen? I can't get on board with this. If Cody Drama comes back, start him. Wherever Leeds are next season, start him. There is absolutely no way he's a worse right back than Rasmus Christensen or Luke Ayling. I'm not having it. I've not had it for a year. I've not had it since I've seen Cody Drame play. I've not had it since he was almost led out to the Wolves for Leeds losing at home to Arsenal and Martinelli rinsing him. I mean, I'm seeing Luke Ayling getting rinsed every single week. I'm seeing Rasmus Christensen who can't use his left foot. I'm seeing Rasmus who can't move fluidly as a right back or even a left back. There is absolutely no way that Cody Drame, when available, should be out of this side. I just cannot get my head round it. The right hand side, we're struggling. We let Cody go. We know his athleticism is fantastic. We know he's physical. We know he's got a bit of pace. We know he's won Cardiff's Player of the Year last season. I mean, it's more than what the other two have done. And then when I say that, it's almost like playing into form. Those two aren't playing into form. They've never been in form. And I just don't understand why we continue and persist with this Cody Drama experiment where he gets loaned out continuously and Rasmus and Ayling are above him in the pecking order. I don't know if you guys would disagree with that, but, I just don't understand it. So maybe that's something that we as a fan base have missed. It's the fact that Cody Drame maybe shouldn't have left Leeds in the first place to go on loan for a second season. And number 5 for me, everyone, is it's not over. It isn't over, and I think that's something that we all need to take into consideration. It's not over yet. It's a big blow, that though, and I understand we've got games coming up that are winnable. But that's a big blow. I don't know how many points I realistically see us getting to now, to be honest with you. 36 maybe would be peak of what I think we could get to at the minute. I could be wrong, but it isn't over. I don't believe it's over. But it puts a lot of pressure on Leeds at the minute to maybe get a win at Fulham, to beat Leicester, all these things which at the start of proceedings you were hoping that Leeds maybe would have had a little bit of slack when it came to. What it really does is give the players a kick up the arse as well, because maybe they were getting into that complacent mindset and they were thinking, look, if we beat Crystal Palace here, we're going to almost ease our way to a win against Crystal Palace, a 1-0 home win. And then, we're just going to maybe take our foot off the gas. If we lose a couple, then it's fine. But maybe they'd have got themselves into that mentality where they weren't up for the running as much as if they needed the points. Well, now they need the points. Fulham, Leicester, Bournemouth, West Ham, all coming up. as I've said before on the debrief, Bournemouth are turning it around at the minute. Gary O'Neill's doing a really, really good job. I think that's Palace safe as well. So it's becoming a gunslinger, isn't it? It's becoming a real. It's gonna be a fight, a real fight. And we need to see more fight than we saw yesterday, 100%. But I don't think it's over. But do I think we need something against Liverpool on Monday night? I do now. I really, really do. This can't turn into some sort of like 2, 3, 4 game rot where we're not able to get a win. Leeds have to get something, in my opinion, against Liverpool. So that's it, guys. If there's anything I missed, let me know in the comment section below. If there's anything that you came across in the game yesterday and want to highlight on the video, please let me know in the comment section below. Guys, we will be back very, very soon with another video. Keep your heads up if you can. It's very, very difficult. I know 7 days until we play Liverpool at Ellen Road on Monday night might be the perfect way to get back into it. Guys, have a good one. I'll see you in a bit.